And why things are going on live, all things come on live very fast, either on iHeart and iTunes Radio. I'm Dr. Paul. Welcome to Bridges Live. This is a show called Powerful Women, and Powerful Women is about a lot of women. I was not to meet people. You will meet my panel of distinguished guests. And I do want to give a shout out to people who were going to come on and that had some family emergencies. Dr. Latasha Holden, thank you. And I hope you and your family are doing well. Mama Fatu, I also have my prayers with you and your family on a sudden death in your family. And Dr. Coraline Griffin, I have you in my prayers, and I know you're not feeling well. And so please take care of yourself. We are all with you in spirit and in blessings. So when we talk about powerful women, what comes to mind? And anyone can take a hand on this, because I think, like, my daughter had put out a thing. Nia's my daughter up there. She had put out a thing. Powerful women are not just people who are doing nationally or community thing, but really how you feel about that. So Nia, you want to, being the youngest of the group, and then so tell us about what your ideas of powerful women is and are, and how how you guys, because I'm not a woman, affect change.
Personally, in my opinion, I think a powerful woman is honestly any woman who is going through anything that would make life not easy, honestly. Like single moms, they're powerful in their own way, as they're responsible for raising their children in a world that is harsh. And teachers are powerful women. You know, they make a difference in kids' lives, and they plan our future for us. And college, my young women who are going to college to older women who are going to college, anybody who has the courage to get up and finish something that they wanted to finish for a long time, in my opinion, is powerful. And it's all about the ability to bring yourself up from a place where you're no longer feel strong, and it's up to them to make themselves feel strong or powerful.
Go ahead, Remy. What were you going to say?
I was like, wow, that was such a great intro to the whole thing. I've always believed that power is from within. And yeah, couldn't have said it any better. It's not in your title, it's not in your position, it's not in who, it's from within. So every woman has this power within, whether it be that you are single mother, and that's where you see some people that you think are disadvantaged. They still can just rise and shine and do what they need to do to take care of those students in the classes, professors, to take care of those kids, and making sure that they're set right for a great future. So for me, just to tag along what Nia just said, because she just summarized the whole the whole conference. If you ask me, it's power is from within, and if we can look within, our power will be greater from without, because everything starts from within, and nothing can stop what you have within you but you.
That's excellent. Yeah, I fully agree. If I just jump in really quick, I mean, Nia, thank you so much. And what a fresh perspective to all women. And I always think women in general are power, but, even more so women that are able to live in their truth, and, which is not always easy. There's always a lot of obstacles. And if that truth is being a mother, being a wife, being a student, or having your own business, or even following your dream of working in a nonprofit, which is not easy these days. I feel that that's really where the power comes from. We don't always get the opportunity for many years to live in our truth, because we've always been led by other circumstances, if not the other genders and races and things, to keep us from living in our truth. So I think if you're able to do that, and no matter what it is, that's the power right there.
Go ahead, anyone, because one of the things I find, and you probably find more of this as you working with women, young women, older women, they're afraid to speak. What's going on?
I think it's the fact that you use young as specific. I think it's the feeling of their voice isn't as necessary as older women's voices. Like as a 20-year-old, I would assume that my opinion is not as strong as, say, a 40-year-old woman's, because they've experienced life, they've lived their life, they've gone through most likely more things than I would have gone through as a 20-year-old, and their opinion is more weathered, is how I would use it. And they know more in a technical sense because they've lived more.
I'll just jump in. I think that I think despite the age, I think we all have we were talking about our own truths. And no matter if it's a 20-year-old or not, you have your own experience, and that's still your truth, and that's your power and ownership. And there are a ton of things that you go through, especially now as a 20-year-old, that there's many women that haven't gone through a ton of the things you are going through, and they probably couldn't handle the amount of things, that each individual woman or young lady goes through. So I think as a woman and as a powerful woman, I think just taking ownership of our truth and our faith and what we believe in, I think that is also a source of power. And being able and being comfortable with speaking about whatever it is. So if my truth is, specifically speaking, because I run a nonprofit for domestic violence victim, if my truth is that I've been battered, I've been a part of a relationship that I know I should not be part of, regardless of my age, that's my truth. And I'm taking my power back, and ownership that says I deserve better. And I owe it not only to myself, but to my family and my loved ones to be better and to get out of this toxic situation. So again, I think that it's regardless of the age. Regardless of the age, you can have your own truth and your own power. And it takes confidence to stand on that. Often, sometimes, if we are looking at, because of the age difference, as a 20 plus year old, my senior, maybe it can be intimidating, but I think we individually can find our truths and power in our truths.
Go ahead.
So I think also, Nia, when you speak on age, for us, for the older women, the more seasoned women on this panel right now, I think the upbringing too was a little different because, I know for me, I was always told, growing up, be strong, learn to be independent, to be self-sufficient, to take care of yourself. You can't depend on, if you find a mate that can help you along the way, great. But if not, be able to stand on your own and take care of yourself. And that's a great trait to teach your daughters. It really is. But you should also, I think, what was lost on us, which I'm trying to now, for the young ladies in my life, trying to let them know, but it's okay to be vulnerable. Yeah. It's okay to ask for help if you need it. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It is actually a sign of strength, because you get to a place where you know that, what, I can't do this by myself. And what, God did not put any of us here to do it by ourselves. So I'm a little envious of you younger ladies, because you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting to know that, yes, you should learn to be independent and strong and self-sufficient, but you're also learning that it's okay to be vulnerable and ask for help if you need it.
Yes. Right. And
go ahead.
Right. And also the authenticity as a woman, being authentic and knowing who you are and whose you are, and the ability to embrace who you are till you get to where you want to be and walk towards it is very important. That would allow you to be able to relate to whether someone is old or young. The content of their character is what matters, and your authenticity will distinguish you as a powerful woman, or a powerful woman in the making, because your space, you will know your space, you will own your space, and you walk your space with a heart that you know is real and true, so that you're not going to be living a life for people. You will embrace who you are and be authentic, and know when you have a sign of weaknesses, your areas of weaknesses and your area of strength. And like everybody that have spoken before me said, just being able to know that as women, there's that power within us, and there's that ability to be accountable to ourselves. And accountability to ourselves will help us to blossom more. That's when you'll be true to yourself.
Well, I think one of the questions I know often men may have to women like yourselves is, are you tired of holding down the Black community or the family like you are the main staple in things? Does it get tiring, or does it feel like there's a weight on your shoulder by being the women you are? Because either finding a mate, having a mate, or being with a mate, there's still this outside due pressure. Is that the pressure you feel?
No, well, for me, no. I mean, I've always felt like, my grandmother, raised with my grandmother, Paul, as you know well. I mean, she held down everything.
She did.
I don't hold down even an inch of what she held down. Even with all the schools that I work with, all the parents, the mothers, I can't even imagine, and if she took care of kids all day long, went to a job and, fed everybody, sent them to school, went to a job from 4 to 12 at night and cleaned office buildings, got up the next day, sent us all out to school again the next morning, 10 or 8 of, 8 to 10 of us every day, fed us when she came back, so no. I don't have any problems holding down my community. I think it's my responsibility. I feel more comfortable being able to bring whatever I can from what I learned from this strong woman to this community, which is what I think is missing somewhere. We have separated. We're not living as a community anymore, and we need to come back as a community. We said the community raises a child, but we're now everybody's trying to raise their children separately. And this is one of the reasons why we have so many women that are out there by themselves. They're not together, but in my work, I'm teaching the parents, come back together. We didn't have as much hunger and problems that we had, because if somebody was hungry in your block, or somebody you bought food, you had a little extra, you fed them. It wasn't even a big production. It was, we all ate together. So I don't, to me, it's the one thing I can bring back to the community. I love it. I'm sorry, that's a long answer, but I just felt like, it's just,
Yeah, I
Yes,
also
Remy.
want to chime in and to just buttress what she said. There's no feeling of having a weight on the shoulder at all. It takes a village to raise a kid, and paying it forward is what it's a privilege when you have the opportunity to pay it forward, to be in a situation where you can help somebody else, whether be it a child, another family, and so forth. But what I think we need to do more of is communication, talking with each other, talking, whether be it a male or anyone, having that dialogue. So there's that heart-to-heart conversation. So your left knows what your right hand is doing. What's up with that? If you are a couple, you should be able to have a dialogue and understand what you're doing at some point. I'm not saying you'll agree, but you owe it to each other to share. Don't assume you have the answer. Don't assume you know what's going to happen. What if it doesn't? Give it that opportunity. That makes things a lot easier. And then we never feel like anything is on our shoulder, because you're open, you're transparent, and you're just ready to pay it forward. And you know in your heart that you're trying to give back and add value to life. So it's not a weighty shoulder feeling at all on my part, like Marion said.
So yeah, and I'd like to piggyback on what you just said there, Remy, about communication. If you're a couple, I think also not just when you communicate, but being open to what the other one is saying, and not be closed off to and get offended. It's funny because Paul and I are listening to this series right now, and he'll have to give you more information because I can't remember the minister's name who is, but it's basically called The Bait of Satan. And it's a series talking about, why we fall for the old okie doke, because we get offended so often about. But if you are partners, if you have stood before God, family, and friends, and made a vow to one another, and you are expressing yourselves to each other, then there shouldn't be any offense. You should be able to have an open line. So I agree with you 100% when you say communication is key, but along with that communication is the openness to receive what your partner is saying and expressing without taking offense.
Yeah, and I agree. I don't have children, but I know that my family is we have a ton of women in my family. So I've always known the value and appreciated the value of a woman and how important she is to her family and her community. Dr. Paul was kind of mentioning something about like within relationships and men and how that kind of works out. I do, however, have found that as a strong woman, that oftentimes I feel that men may be intimidated. Although that's not my purpose. I'm not purposely trying to I'm trying to find a nice word to say.
That's not happening.
Okay. I was trying. But that's
It
definitely
didn't
not
work. You know what? It didn't work. So you
Okay.
might as well just say it. You might as well just.
Yeah, it's not my intent, right?
Right,
I would want a partner that, similar to what the other ladies were saying, like we should be able to communicate, we should be working together, and let's do this thing together. You're not going to agree with everything I have going on, or everything I say, and vice versa. But I think that that's the way a partnership should work. But on to that point, I refuse to step back from my stance in being a woman and being confident in my ability and my being and what I can do and provide for myself to make someone else feel good or about themselves. So I think it's kind of a catch-22, and I think although we may not want to acknowledge it, there is a bit of a, I wouldn't really say it's a weight, but it's acknowledgement. Like I acknowledge that I may be too much for you, and I'm also okay with that.
Going back on Dr. Paul's question, I'm gonna have to do a 180 on you ladies.
That's okay.
I personally do feel a weight as a Black woman in the community, to uphold a certain level, not because of the lack of help that is around, but because of society and how we grew up now compared to how I'm guessing you women were. Like Janine had mentioned earlier about how you all grew up with, your mom was strong and you guys were raised to think that you needed to hold the world on your shoulders and you're never supposed to ask for help. And I think that I was raised not necessarily the same way, but my generation I know was raised on Barbie movies. And in the Barbie movies, there's Rapunzel needs help saving from the tower, or there's Swan Lake needs a man's love to change her fate or whatever. And all those movies were dependent on a man saving them. And, my mom in our household raised us, we watch the movies because entertainment's entertainment, but she'd remind us, don't ever let someone tell you that you need to depend on someone else to survive.
Yep.
So I was also raised to, take care of myself and be independent. But at the same time, my generation was still raised with those movies, and we were still put, in a place where we have to decide whether or not we want to be this strong woman who, is shut down by people everywhere they turn, or a, submissive woman who is, going to let people walk all over them because they're afraid that they're going to grow up without a group of people in their life. Like in my group of friends, I have, they're all my friends are white. And so this past couple of years have been really hard for all communities. And one of the biggest issues that I've learned from it is that I get the questions are, do Black people take this way? Or is this how you would see this? Or can I say it this way without offending? And now I have all these questions that are thrown at me as a, someone who just broke out of teenage years, trying to decide whether or not this is something that we should be taking offense to, or if this is just them being, sweet and polite and trying to make sure that they understand where everybody's coming from. And past a certain point, I mean, I'll answer the questions and, up to a certain point, it's fine. But past that, it's like every single time that something's put on, you know, YouTube or Facebook or TV, they turn around, they're like, hey, is this okay? Was that right?
Oh yeah, we all become the ambassador of Black America if we have white friends, you know. So do you just now stepping into that role? More power to you, my little daughter, because if you have white friends, you're going to become the ambassador of Black America.
Yeah.
Trust
Yep.
me.
Exactly.
And
Absolutely.
it doesn't stop. We don't know when it started, but we know it doesn't stop. So,
Right. But you know, I'm sorry, Jeanine, go on.
No, I was just gonna say eventually I just say, you know what, Google it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I just want to say, because there's a lot of things that Nia said there. So this is one of the things that I struggle with women of your age, and then the teenagers that I work with in high school and getting older. So there is all the way left or all the way right. So we brought up as independent women, and I can't speak for everyone in this panel, but I know that if they're here and Dr. Paul considered us powerful women, believe me, we don't get here by, you know, kowtowing to anybody. So there's a point though where we were brought up to pretty much be somewhat self-sufficient, is what Jeanine, I think, is talking about, where we didn't show a lot of our weaknesses because they were never read right. So you would go out into the industry and you're going to go. So before I became a chef, which happened way at the second iteration of my life, I decided to become a chef. I originally was a paralegal and I worked with administrative law judges in the Social Security Administration. And then I also worked at private law firms. And it was you couldn't go there with this feeling like you didn't know something. And one of the reasons is because then they felt like you really didn't know. And that was specifically because of our race, and then because of being a woman. So I was one of the early generations of paralegals that had to fight to not be a legal secretary, because we were taught to, from the lawyers that I learned from in college, were don't ever let them know you can type. Just go in, you're going to do the research, you're going to they ask you if you can type, tell them no. And one of the reasons
because it really
you did that,
turn you into something.
Exactly. Well, they would then have you typing some things. Oh, well, don't worry about the typing pool. Why don't you just type your own brief and then get things going and then just keep it moving? And that's the kind of thing that would happen to younger women in the legal field when we were not trying to be secretaries, but actually be paralegals. We went to school to be that. So I just want to say, like, there were things that we were taught to not ask for help with. And I can't say that everyone that I went to school with had that same. They could ask for help or ask for opinions or information about something without having to have that feeling of knowing everything. So that's kind of how we were brought up. And that's really specifically to Black people. I mean,
Marion, let me ask you this. Is there still pushback in everyone's respective businesses and communities? Is there still a pushback saying you are to be into this type of role, or is that not asked anymore? Or is it asked less?
Yeah.
It's still
in the business industry, sure. I mean, there's still the disparity between men and women, and then Black women and white women, so there's a little, I find sometimes, I see, somebody else has to work a little less hard as I do to prove that they can do what they, can do. And I always have to be the super achiever. So it is one of those things that, you then turn to become this powerful person, or you end up being someone that just kind of falls back and says, well, I'm never going to get that. And that's where some of the young women that I see, like, well, it's always the loudest voice that gets everything. And I'm like, well, I was going to be loud anyway. I had a lot of family members. If anybody's going to hear me, you had to be loud. So it didn't have anything to do with, you had to be loud just to be heard in our family, which had nothing to do with industry. But that's what I just wanted to say to Nia, like that, there's a big difference. And I just want to make one other point, not to take over everything, but one other point that came up earlier about men. And I understand, Tamara, what you're saying, because, my husband, people always say, oh, he's just such a nice guy to have to live with her, to deal with her, and how she, but the reality is not to say that he's not a nice guy, because he's an awesome guy. However, he didn't have to be. My husband's just as strong as anyone else, and I couldn't be with someone that was way, as you said, if they can't appreciate me for who I am, then there's no point in me being with that person. And so, my husband and I have worked it out, the communications there, but every year, on the anniversary, we got to work on the next goal. Otherwise, we're not making it to the next year. A marriage is a constant working on it. Everybody's changing. In my case, this is going to be our 40th year anniversary. So we're working a lot. So I'll leave it at that.
Remy, when you're in school, and we've talked about this before with the young ladies that you see out there in the classroom, do you, as a teacher, do you see possibilities, or do you just see hope?
All I see all over each and every one of them is possibilities from my own perspective. And I always like the before, the day one. And by the time we finish the semester, I see the report, not in their grades. I see what I believe that I want to be able to see at the end of it. Young ladies, young men who have put the work in. We might do a little fighting at the beginning. Everybody's trying to see how far can I go? How far can I push? So once they know that some areas are no go, no push area, they let it go because I don't back down. Then the other areas, as a mother, as also a professor that wants them to be successful, I remind them that their success is why we're here. And constantly letting them know that it's possible, speaking those affirmations, not that we'll stop class and be doing affirmations, but in the action, in the communications and how I relate to them, I let them know I cherish them. And I know that they can do the work. And when they do the work, not if, because you don't have a choice, you have to do the work if you're in my class. When you do the work, you will see the results. And your attitude is part of life. Of course, you might never see me again, but your attitude will determine your altitude. So all those conversations, you start seeing some of them are shy, they don't engage. As there's some people who like to talk and be heard. I know I used to not like to speak at all. So I know those kind of people, they are powerful within. So I engage them and they would email and say those words are working for them. So it's just letting them know that it's possibility, not just hope. Hope is like, oh, maybe so, maybe not. This is possibility all over them, and telling them you've got to do the work and the school is here to support you. So are we your servant leaders, teachers?
It's fascinating. Every time I do a show,
amazing.
I get all these inboxes about something, and why powerful women, it literally gets a negative spin on it. Like, why are you having a show about powerful women? Like what is the big deal? And I want you to answer that question, because this year with the pandemic and everything, we're losing kids to suicide. We're losing people to all kinds of things. And domestic, we talk about it tomorrow on our show. And yet why not highlight powerful women if we're losing people to all this other stuff? Is this just a feel good show, or is this an important show to say that you are not alone and you can ask for help and reach out to some of these women, reach out, ask the questions? I mean, that's why I do. I think that's why I wanted to come up with this show. I mean, you can answer what you think yourself, but so go ahead. So I just want to let you know I already got that type of, like, why powerful women? Omar, really?
Yeah, but why not though? Like, that's kind of the very same thing, okay? Like, everyone knows us women are the bomb. Like, your existence is because of us, but that's the story for another day.
No, actually, that is the story of today.
But I just don't understand why can't women be celebrated. And I think one of the great things about this show tonight is that we are all from different walks, different ages. We've all been through different things. And of course, these are not the only 5 powerful women that any of us know, but we are all powerful in our own way. And why not have that be highlighted? I love to see men highlighted. I love to see, those panels as well. But I love And I have even more joy to see a Black woman that is confident in herself and is talking about some real stuff that I can relate to. And why not have this forum for other women and other people in general? You know, hopefully there are men and young ladies that are looking to say, you know what, I see a Black woman, I see a panel of Black women, and I can see myself in each one of them, or it's something that they've said that inspires me to do better. Like maybe I wasn't as focused about school, but hearing that there's a professor that's encouraging and loving on me, even when I may not see so, and see that that spark in myself, maybe that's the motivation that they need. So I think we should continue to have programs and forums where women in general are highlighted, and each individual person is allowed to share their own thoughts, their own beliefs, and provide, I think it's a motivation again for all those that are able to see and join in.
And if I can also chime in and underscore what we've been told by my sister here right now, is people listening to us right now, they have a pictorial sense of what a powerful woman is.
Right.
They might not have a picture of any of us.
Yep.
So that means they're going to be overthinking what it is. Do I need to do this? Do I need to hold my fork in a certain way? Do I need to smile? Do I need to say? But we're saying, guess what? Be authentic. Yeah. Demystify what people are calling the status quo. Your heart, that's where your power lies. Go there, do the best every single day to make true impact. Not because somebody's going to celebrate you. Celebrate yourself, doggone it. You can celebrate yourself. You can share things that you're doing to inspire others so that unlikely champions can be born. And that's the era we're in right now. Waiting for people to celebrate you and so on and so forth is not so necessary. But having platforms like this where you have diverse people from different walks of life, experience, ages, and so forth, will let somebody who is listening to us now or who will listen to us later to say, okay, so these people are powerful women. They said some things, I'm doing it. Okay, I'm powerful. So they start believing in that psyche of what we're trying to instill in them. And that's just my 2 cents. So sorry,
no, that's perfect.
I'll throw a quarter on that one any dime. Go ahead, Mary.
No, I was just going to say that's exactly what I was thinking. I was, first of all, thinking that, you know, very rarely do people think to go to the kitchen and get a chef and say, this person is a powerful person, you know, or a powerful woman. And we all know that, you know, in the field that we know, being in the chef field, I mean, men get touted higher than women always, and we've been cooking way longer than many of them learn how to cook from a woman. But in the field of culinary field, you have way more men in the higher level of the culinary field than you do women, and we've had many powerful women. I do that for Black History Month. The one thing I do is bring out those powerful women. I talk about Leah Chase. I talk about Edna Lewis. I talk about all of these women that were there in the beginning and actually held up the men. But I'm just happy to be on this panel with all of you ladies, but Nia for sure, because the reality is that you at your age and your power gives me so much strength. I'm loving being on this panel with you. I'm proud that I was invited. Thank you.
One of the things that Nia doesn't, you want to tell your story, Nia?
I've practiced this so many times with this man.
Nia, before you tell your story, I just want to, the person who asked you that question about, you know, why powerful women doesn't understand what Nia actually had said at the very beginning.
Right. It missed that part.
Right. Power lies within you. It's not about the visuals. You know, it's about what's in you. So I'm pretty sure that the person that asked that question needs to look in the mirror and ask themselves, where do their power lie?
And I think that's a thing, honey. I think that's a great question. I've said this and written it. I think when people ask a question that is directed outwardly, I wonder if they've ever asked it inwardly. because that's not that, because they're looking for answers that's going to help them with themselves, and that answer will never come that you could accept.
Well, and I think on top of what Janine said about them missing the beginning is, I don't think it could also be that they misunderstand the term powerful. Because in my mind, I think of powerful not as the lack of weakness, but the ability to recognize one's weakness and turn it around on themselves and break out strength. That's what I think power is. And I think people miss that and assume that a water boy for a football team is, weak, but I see him as this man who, or person who provides the essential need for the other players to provide on the team. Like that's his power as much as the football players' team and them playing is their power.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Because that's his truth.
That's the point.
Or her.
That's his. That's
her
exactly
truth.
Right.
Water,
Or her truth.
It could be a water person.
That's right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. An essential part of that game. If there's no water, you're not making it to fourth quarter. It's just not happening.
And Nia just hit the nail on the head. I mean, this takes me back to the days when I was in banking. I started banking as a teller with an MBA just to get my food into the door. And you dare not have the office be clean before you open the door. So even the cleaning people, they have their own power.
Right.
No customer will walk in and he is being a stink up office and give you a pat on the back. So everybody is
a role.
important. But we just need to have forums like this to remind people that the power is within. It's not just in the outward celebration of the title or who you know and who knows you and all that good stuff. Great conversation, guys.
I think, Tamara, you're right. I don't think we celebrated enough. And how do you ladies find celebrating someone else on a regular basis? Because I think if a woman or a young person or anyone who watches the show, how can I, is the question, celebrate someone else that I don't know? I think that's a question that people could have, like the teller or the whomever. How do I celebrate them in just my small way? Is it just I say thank you? I don't flip you off. I don't give you the finger. Haven't cursed you out. So is that enough? Huh?
Thank you. A simple thank you can go a very long way.
Or just asking, and we talked about this in our show too, Tamara, like, how are you? Like, are you okay?
Meaning it though. That's the issue, is meaning it.
Absolutely.
How are you? And they'd be like, I'm not doing so great. I'd be like, cool, but I'm great. So
yeah.
Another way that I know, another way we have done it, even people that we don't know, if we hear of things that they are doing on our LinkedIn and social media is huge. People we don't even know from Adam. Once they're in line with the vision of what we are chasing after to inspire, encourage, lead, inspire, and grow. That's our motto. So regardless of who that individual is, if we get wind of what they are doing, we could celebrate them on our page without even, after several people have already commented, somebody might, by the way, let them know. And they're like, ooh, thank you. They're thanking us is not what's important. We're happy that we're able to recognize someone who might see themselves as an unlikely champion on your platform because they haven't done anything for you directly, but you just spot them on as a winner, as someone who is emerging and needs that boost. And that works all the time. And it doesn't cost a whole lot to be nice at all. It just takes the willingness of your heart and to work it and not wait for any recognition, because that you might not get it. If you wait for recognition, you'll be disappointed. But just keep moving, keep doing it, keep sprinkling the seeds around. It will come full circle and do what you want it to do and what God has set it to do.
Well,
I think Remy is right. I think sorry, Nia.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I started to learn that a lot more in the work that I'm doing in the last 10 years or so, that, I may have only one opportunity to impact or one opportunity to get a message through to someone. especially if I want to look at some of the things, their lifestyle changes and eating patterns and their overall health and how they feel spiritually. I feel that, you know, a lot of times it's removing the competition, you know, stop looking at people, you just engaging that person and saying, this may be my one chance to get a message to you. And if maybe that message is, I appreciate you. Maybe that message is, you know, as I walk up to someone, to just pass them a note or write something. Sometime if I go to a restaurant, we just talked about going to a restaurant, Paul, and if the service is really good, I'll write all over the check to go back, just so they know thank you, James, for this great service today. I really appreciate you taking the time to give me that extra napkin or whatever. Like, I believe people don't take that moment to do that. And you only have a moment a lot of times. And for me, I've learned a lot about that. You know, I know how important the dishwashers are. I know just how important it is for the people that just do the things, the basic things every single day. You know, I see the women that clean up in the bathrooms. You know, I'll go into a store, and if they're cleaning it, just say, thank you for keeping that bathroom clean. I just, thank you. I had to use it. And if it wasn't clean, I would have been so disappointed. And so little things like that, we just got to take a moment and remove the competition between, looking at someone else in whatever way, higher or lower, and just take a minute.
That's a great point. And I'll let you go after this, but we cannot build community if we have competition. And I kind of probably said things around that, but that's very succinct in those two C words. You cannot have community with, if you're going to have competition, because once you think you're going to be better or do something or step on someone, then community is shattered.
Doing it for the wrong reason.
Nia, go ahead, please.
Off of what Remy said, though, about how she was talking about coming across on her linked profile of other people and celebrating through that, I think the sharing of their stories is also a great way to celebrate them. Like, if I'm ever having a hard time celebrating myself, I remember that I share my story, and it's a great way for remind me that, hey, I have this great version of myself that I keep forgetting and for some reason lock away somewhere. So I think sharing someone else's story is a great way to show them the respect that they deserve, as well as celebrating them and their life.
I'm gonna, and I've done this before. Actually, my daughter Nia, oh my goodness! But we've had our own radio show together at one time. I was the Boo Boo Ghost, and it was
way long ago.
That was a way long ago, right? So, the question I have for you, Nia, is: you suffer from depression and autistic behaviors, and you've been counted out several times. You almost been kidnapped. You've been attacked in the streets. You've had your difficulties, but that doesn't stop you. Why is that?
She knows where her power.
First of all, I would like to state on I suffer from depression. Yes, I don't think I suffer from autistic tendencies. I think I definitely benefit from those. And to elaborate, I think I benefit from them in the way that I wouldn't be an advocate for those with disabilities, nor an advocate for those in the foster care system with disabilities, if I didn't have the autistic tendencies that I have. Like, I wouldn't know where to come from. I wouldn't know how to support or show my ability to help without going through the exact same thing myself. And I think that another way, how I keep going it's not as much as what Janine said about my own power. I think it's more like my love for myself and my life, as well as the life that I share with other people. Like my father or my stepmother or my mom or my siblings. I go through all of that, and in the middle of it, I'm reminded of just how many people I have in my life who are supportive and caring and loving, and they show me just how important it is to keep going. And therefore I gather the strength that I no longer had in that second, and I am able to pull myself together and remember, hey, they are there for me, so I can be here for myself and provide myself the strength that I deserve to keep going.
Absolutely.
Well,
That is very well
I'm so
said.
proud of you.
I told you, I was so thrilled to be here in this with this Nia.
Yeah,
She
it's an
is
honor.
awesome.
It's a beautiful honor to be amongst all of you. Nia, you're
Yeah,
amazing.
tell me.
I look forward to greater conversations with you. You're amazing.
Absolutely.
You are the reasons why we see possibilities
Exactly.
in every person that comes in our purview that we have influence over. And thank you for being who you are. You're amazing. You just, you are amazing.
Well,
Before
and
we
I'll keep blessing, thanking me, but I just want to say that I think it's a complete and utter joy to be a part of this group with you women, because I know my story, but I don't know a lot of other people's stories. And I'm so proud to be a part of something like this that would allow me to be welcomed into your guys' life.
Before we take off, and I want to say thank everyone for watching the Powerful Woman Show. And again, I agree. I think this format should be a monthly show so we can celebrate.
Absolutely.
And that's just something we ought to start doing and continue to do, is celebrate, because we see so many things that's trying to take our joy away. And is trying to label our joy, or is trying to define our joy, or is trying to put our joy in a box saying, if they wasn't doing this, if they would not this, if they, enough, let joy be joy, right? So before we tell Miriam, my dear cousin, when you were talking about Mama Gert, and I got shivers, because there's a lot of things I remember. I remember lining up, getting whoopings by height, and
Exactly.
that it was there was 9-10 of us, and oh my God, and yeah, it was amazing. But before we take off, what do you want like to say?
No, I just wanted to say, we didn't have a lot, Nia, and we didn't have a lot, just to let you know, but we didn't really realize it. We had each other, and we were always reminded that we had each other, because we could go to school, but we were told to never come back without each other. So, no matter what, if someone got in trouble, we had to do it together, because we couldn't come home without one of the other ones. So that, I just say, I like to just stay connected to all of you ladies. And, I always think of things that way. Always try to stay connected to our people, even if we don't see each other for a long time, or if we just meet for the first time. And really great to meet you all, and Janine and Nia, especially being family. That's all I really want to say.
Janine, please.
Yeah, it's definitely been great being a part of this panel. Cousin Marion, yes, I can't wait to finally meet you in person. And Paul and I, we have a history we knew each other back in middle school, but we reconnected a couple of years back, and married, and now I get to call this lovely girl my daughter, and I couldn't be prouder of her. I got to spend time with her in person for the first time right before COVID shut everything down. It was about this time last year, if you remember, right about my birthday's next Monday.
It was this time.
And yes, and Nia was here celebrating my birthday with me last year, and just really got to spend time with her, and what a phenomenal young lady. And Tamara, every Wednesday I tune into the show watching, and I'm just really always in awe of what you do with your nonprofit. And I always say to Paul, I'm like, I gotta call her, I gotta connect with her to see how I could be of some help, even if it's coming in and teaching CPR skills, because that's my thing. Right. I want, the more people who have that skill set, the better off we all are as a community. And Remy now having that connection to Bowie. I have friends who have college bound children. And so now I can say, I have a connection over at Bowie State. So it has definitely been a pleasure. And just is like, to just summarize lastly, your power is within you, not the initials behind your name.
Nia?
I would like to say that I have had an amazing time here, as well as meeting you wonderful ladies, Tamara, Remy, and Mary. Period, Mary. It is nice to meet you at all. Because you can chew him out later, but I had no idea who you were.
There's more.
But yeah, I met Janine last year around this time. I got to finally meet her. And I hear these wonderful stories about you. Tomorrow I listen, I stop by or drop in maybe for like 5 minutes before I lose focus on your guys' show. And it's so nice to hear from a teacher's perspective, Remy. And I'm so glad that I got to meet all of you guys at all. And I'm truly blessed, and I would love to connect with each of you on our own time to talk, because I think that I would definitely benefit from your guys' interests and point of views. And I just want to thank my dad for giving me the opportunity to meet you women. So
Tamara.
Again, as every other woman has said, it's an honor to be here, and I just want us to just continue to be our powerful, beautiful selves, and let's continue to, or make it a point to encourage someone else. Someone, whether it's a waiter or a support staff or someone, sometimes you can just see on their face they're just not having a great day. So just a hello, or you look beautiful today, or something like that. I try to make it a point to do something similar. I speak to almost everyone. Like if we're walking by each other, I will speak kind of regardless, but I just try to make sure I'm intentional about my love and support, and being grateful for their life and how it, it's kind of affected me. So if they're waiting on me or serving me and they've done their power to support or do anything, that's really within my life, I try to make it a point. So let's just all make it a point to support and love and uplift anyone we come in contact with.
I have to tell a story before I get to you, Remy. Janine and I were eating lunch or brunch or something like that, and there's a server that came to us, this one particular server, and the way she asked, did we want anything? And I said coffee, and Janine said no, water. She left, and I just looked at Janine and said, something's wrong. And she comes back. I said, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm fine. She held up her pad, and I put her pad down. I said, what's wrong? Sit down. And she goes, no. I said, no, sit down. And I said, we just want to pray with you. And she just started crying. And then she let it all out about what was going on in her life. And we gave her our numbers and contact, because sometimes people need to know that someone hears them. Like Nia said, like, instead of just asking, are you okay? Really mean it. Come from the heart. If you mean it, they'll feel it. So that's good. It's very important. So I wanted to tell that story. Remy, last, please.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Paul, for this invitation. I just want to close us out with 3 words that I live by every single day. Let's be authentic, stay connected, and stay empowered and empower others. With all of that, we can all be powerful women and men. And thank you for this platform, and great to meet all of you. Looking forward to continuing this conversation as we make impact one life at a time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, ladies. And thank everyone for listening and watching Bridges live here on my channel. You can always catch the podcast on Apple, iHeart, and where you get all your podcast stations. If you have any questions or comments, just please put it in your inbox, and we'll get back to you sooner than later. You guys all have a blessed evening. Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night,
Good night, everybody.
Blessings.